comparison. There's no comparison. Oh my.
So that's all computer generated, which is
I know.
And
the gradients on that work.
All right, so let's look at some of this stuff here from.
Is that the actual? Holy smokes!
Yeah. All right, what else we got here? Let's pick this one here. Has some of my favorites. So this is what a normal scene would look like. Just like a normal people sitting doing their thing.
Just like talking and like
having
a good time.
With variety of weird lighting, but you can see just like how much detail goes in there. Unfortunately, the camera's clipped in here.
Yeah, it's so, like the camera is what's causing the problem. Like any loss of information is from the camera.
Which is weird because I mean that was shot with a Red Epic Dragon, so like it's 16 stops dynamic range.
Yeah, not enough. Not enough.
Yep. So that's something that I think you would enjoy taking a look at. Take a look at this, like here in the coming out of that building.
That is insane.
How much detail is all up in here. Like
that is insane.
The spotlights on it. Here's coming down. You can see the sky, just like how much detail has been captured, how much detail is all up through those aircraft.
Oh. Like you can see all of the detail of like that's resulted from its use.
Yeah.
Because it's just visible every single shade.
Every single little bit, and like between the 4K and the high dynamic range, like just look at how much detail all the way from these bright lights down here, all the way up to the darkest. Like right in here, look at the detail on the staircase.
You should not be able. Like normally, you would never be able to see that work. Oh my goodness.
And these are actually RAWs that I'm pulling from, but they're like 6-year-old RAWs. So, like modern cameras do an even better job. Like a modern camera would have captured that there. This was shot with the Red 1, so like the Epic or the Weapon, which is what we shoot with now, would be better there. Let's get some more of this footage, like that.
That is insane.
Okay.
That is amazing. That is amazing.
So it's not playing back in real time because I have it on full decode right now, which gives us full resolution, but at the expense of playback.
The still frame alone. The still frame alone.
Yeah.
Is incredible. Incredible.
And so that logo that I was showing you earlier looks like this. Right, that you'll see at the head and tail. Right, so like I said, like those aren't super white. That is super white in there.
Oh, and it
pops, whereas this still all looks white, and that's the key with high dynamic range.
It's insane. It all looks white, and yet the different shades of white. That is so cool.
Yeah. You don't get that in standard video. So I'm going to switch projects real quick here to some other footage that. Where do I want this one? This is stuff that we've shot as a company, which eventually we do need to sell in high dynamic range for reasons. Where is my media? Please load.
We're back in the dark.
What the hell? I'll stop that. So, how is that different from anything that you'd ever seen before?
Well, this is exactly what I was thinking. I have seen some of that like footage before on my screen, and I'm like, I like my computer. It's got a good screen, right? It plays like good video. I have never seen footage like that before. Absolutely nothing like that before.
So talk about the blacks and the whites. What did you notice?
Okay, one of the things I noticed that when it's so hard to describe because I'm like, it's like I was looking at reality in terms of like if something wasn't supposed to have any light coming out of it, it just was this beautiful shade of black. But next to it, you could have these incredible like dark gray lines outlining whatever object was also in that black, but it was still clearly visible. You could see all of the shades. You could get the entire texturing of this object that's in this black space, and then next to it you have like this pure black. It just like, you have an object floating in legit actual black space or something like that. And then, of course, when you shift over to the white spectrums, we saw in that last scene, absolutely incredible how you could get various shades of white that all looked white. They didn't look like this like.
Hold on 1 second. Just so that you know why we're sitting here waiting and talking about this, the computer locked up and crashed. That's the price of working on the cutting edge of everything. So it's rebooting and it'll come back. Carry on.
Well, yeah, hopefully it'll start working soon.
Well, it's worked every time it's done this in the past.
Yeah, the whites, like, usually you get this nasty, like, I mean, looking at the screen right now, it's got this shade of, like, gross gray. That's like, okay, that's what you get for black, and then when you go into the whites, you still get this kind of grossish gray shade of gray. There was none of that. There was absolutely none of that. Your blacks were black, your whites were white, and any lines you had against that black were pure lines. Yeah. It didn't bleed. None of that gray bled over into the black. None of the color bled into the white. They were perfect, incredibly detailed lines.
So that was the first time you had also seen anything in the BT 2020 color space, which is a wider color space that eventually computer monitors and televisions are all going to move into. What did you notice about the colors?
So, all right. So there was a broader range inside of each color. Each color could reach a greater saturation as well as richness, I guess, is the best way I can describe that. Different hues
that are just not visible, and like gradients that would normally just collapse into single colors.
Well, they're hues that are visible when I've walked outside and stared at a sunset, right?
Yeah.
And I'm like, that is an incredible sunset. I grab my camera and I take a picture and I look at it and I'm like, that is not as incredible of a sunset as I was looking at. And then like, it'll even color correct and I'm like, okay, that's a pretty sunset, but my screen is like doing an okay job. It's not quite like what I was staring at when I was looking at the horizon.
So now we got our screen up again, and this time I'm going to show him some real-world shots. So give me a second. I'm going to stop that and start. All right, so this is a snow monkey.
I mean,
okay, look at the...
This is the same color. This image and that image are the same color spectrum.
Let's start with the head of this reel, because I really love these opening shots. So you were talking about a sunrise.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like the detail captured in both. I mean, the 4K adds all of the resolution you need, and then the color spectrum, which is what this monitor is adding, because the detail's all there too, but you don't see the colors, you don't see the differences. Like in the sunset, how it's supposed like this. This is how a sunset's supposed to look, because you've got this, like, there's no clouds. So usually when you look at a sunset with no clouds on a camera, it's like you've got a bright spot, which is your sun. And then you've got
everything else around it.
And then everything else is like, kind of all washed into the same color. But you can see every single gradient that's washing off of that sun set.
A sunset, if you actually look at it, you'll get a full rainbow of spectrums. You get your reds and oranges right near the sun, and then it careens out through your greens and your blues all the way into the
deep. I mean, you can even see over here that all that information is, all that color is lost. But over in this screen, we can just...
You can see the green hues into the blues, into the magentas.
That is incredible. It's like looking at a real sunset. I feel like I was at this place right now. We could be here, and I could just be like looking around.
So we're going to jump from India to Amsterdam.
Oh my goodness.
What I like about it too is that you can find like just a standard scene like this.
Captivating.
Yeah. So we're looking at pine needles with snow on them. I mean, but the levels of details and brightness in the whites throughout the snows, because when you have snow in direct sunlight, it just usually washes out to white on the camera. But
you got all this detail.
Mm-hmm. And then like just bees on a flower.
Oh, that's terrifying and also extremely beautiful.
I know, right? So
This is the only reason I would like mountains. Because they can look like this. That isn't... look at the pavement. The pavement is not supposed to look like that.
Yeah, you don't get that detail. Like even in standard dynamic range, you just don't get the amount of shading and differentiation.
I have never
between
looked
the
at
grains.
pavement and said, that's interesting. Until now? That's interesting concrete you got there. And actually, that's asphalt.
Well, asphalt is technically a form of concrete.
Yeah. Oh
It's just
my goodness.
Look at the shades of red here on that cloth that he's dealing with.
That is so beautiful. Okay, that's not red anymore. That is not red anymore.
Well, one thing you have to keep in mind too is that when you see it on that thing, that's the wrong color space.
Okay, it is
so
wrong
like
color
it
space.
is a little bit desaturated, but it's still like if I can throw on this display a little out. It's called the out of gamut marker, which will show you everything that can't be seen in that color space.
And it's that red.
Yep. And then I can switch this over to here's in digital cinema what can't be seen.
Oh,
So
they've got a little
you
bit
can
more.
see a little bit
They got
more,
a little bit more of it.
because it's a wider color space, and those yellows it's captured a little bit more of those. But
It's such a cheerful
like
shade of
there's
yellow, though.
standard YouTube computer display, that's DCI, and then turn it off.
Oh, and then over here, I almost missed it, but
The
it's
amount of
this
detail.
like beautiful dark red in a super shaded area that's like in the dark, but that's just a beautiful shade of red that...
Yeah. So this is like, well, it would
Oh my
this would
goodness.
normally come off really flat, because you'd get this collapse of the darks here in these birds.
You can see all of the detail of every single feather in this like massive like black dark shadow that's contrasting a lot of white.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't get that in... I don't know where this is, but I want to walk
That's in
up
Oregon.
there.
I was telling you, Oregon's pretty, man.
No kidding. That is a beautiful snake. That is an incredible snake.
Okay, so I love this with like all the gradients in the gray. Right, and then the people just in the street. So like when I did color grading on this before, for what we've been doing, like you lose all of this collapses down. You can't see any detail in this little kid down here.
Well,
Can't
because
see hardly any detail in their faces. And then that shade, that brightness on her face, where the direct sun is, like
It screws everything
it
up.
comes down and like you capture it, but it ends up flatter than her face. Like Jake keeps saying, like it looks 3-dimensional because of the amount of texturing you get, like, even though it's not 3D. And arguably you can't use 3D with this technology, but then you get a shot like this because, you know, why not?
Oh man, I want to go on vacation now.
This one's in New Zealand.
Oh man.
So what I like about this is, again, when I was doing the color grading, is I lost all of this, just became a single shade of gray. I'm looking
Just
at
like a trail of gray smoke.
Yeah, I'm looking at a airplane at an air show here, by the way. So like the smoke trail that it would put out to let you see where it is and to do its artistry, like all of that would collapse into a single shade, right? And then these white spots and checkers on its wings just completely disappear, and you lose either the detail here on the body or the detail in the wings, and you couldn't keep both.
Yeah, I mean, because you got mad direct sunlight on bright white, and then you've got like this, like dark shaded area that you just, I mean,
and you get this differentiation between like the wheels and that shadow. Like
those are two
they're
different shades.
different shades, different colors. Like
man.
you just don't see this in anything. So the reason I can't point the phone at it, by the way, is because technically I can't, and then YouTube can't actually capture it. If I were to point my phone at it, it just blows out. I mean, you can see we're only being illuminated by that display right now. Like that's the only thing that's on us, and I love the contrast and the detail all through there on that particular shot, but this one's better.
This shot is so gray, but it's not. Oh man. There is detail on the trunk of this tree.
I know. It's a silhouette. We're shooting into the sun, and there's detail on the trunk of that tree.
We can see into the silhouette. That's insane. Over here too. Over
I
here
know.
too. This is crazy. Oh man. This is that. Yeah, okay. I see what you mean by this is like the future.
So what I love about this is that you haven't lost any detail on these people who are standing in the middle of the street with super white, bright white
You can
shirts.
see the wrinkles in his shirt.
And on the side at this bazaar, you have complete shade in people in black burqas, and you can see the detail in the burqas
That's amazing.
as we walk
Like
through this market.
yeah, over here.
Right. So even here, like you can still see detail all the way into there, and if you block that out, just like you would block out your own eyes, you can start seeing more detail.
Oh yeah, because the
Yeah.
light from the screen is actually causing our eyes to do what the eyes do in normal life,
Yeah.
and if you block out that white, the screen is still showing you more detail over in these
It's
dark
captured,
corners.
it's retained all of it.
And it's displaying. Oh man.
It's just a standard, evening shot, no high contrast, but it still looks.
It's gorgeous. It's gorgeous. It's incredible.
Again, detail in the camel. If you block out the rest of the light, you can still see as much of the detail as the camera captured. That one's one of my favorite shots from that expedition. This one, the camera has clipped up here.
Yeah.
Because I had to bring it up towards the super whites, but it was overexposed, so I'm getting stepping that we normally don't like to see in HDR.
Yeah.
But, so there still are problems and kinks you have to work out. That's one of them. But when you shoot for it, just looks like you're staring at something in real life.
Well, and then as the mist was passing over, the subtleties of the changes.
Yeah.
Like there's this tiny little wisp that goes right past the face, right at the very end, right there. Like you can see these like wisps that would just disappear on normal displays.
So the next thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to turn on the lights, because one of the biggest things about HDR is that you should still be able to see it in standard light, and the overall contrast remains the same versus a standard television. Like your eyes will calibrate to it if it's the only light source, but you won't notice what you're missing. But if we turn on the lights here, you'll still see just as nice of an image. That's the cool thing. So I'm going to flip those on.
Sweet.
Okay. And nothing's changed.
No. It's so bright. It's so bright. It can control its own color.
Yep. It still looks like you're looking out a window.
No,
There's
man.
Paris.
Windows glass ain't that clear. I'm not looking out a window in here. I'm looking like out a portal.
Okay. All of that detail in those darks would be gone in normal image. And then the halo around the sun would be blown out to about there.
So beautiful. I mean, yeah, so there's like a tiny little bit of stepping still in here too, but it's all,
Yeah.
I mean,
I
like,
can fix that. I've learned how to grade a little bit better since I did that, because like there's a huge learning curve when you start grading in high dynamic range. Like really huge. It took me like 3 months before I was really comfortable that we can actually start selling this stuff.
oh.
I like that.
Oh, I know where we are.
Yeah.
I've actually been there.
In my standard grade on this was like super, super, super dark.
Yeah,
Right.
you wouldn't really have seen most of that monkey's body.
But I
in
mean,
here.
that was kind of the point. But you do lose. You get this clip. You got the silhouette of the monkey, whereas here you get the detail on the monkey. Right. Detail all through the shadows in these trees, all the way up through into the clouds, with direct sunlight.
Wow. Wow. Wow.
It's another shot. I like this one.
Oh my goodness.
So that was at that air show again.
That is beautiful. Sorry, I'm a little bit of an engineer, and by a little bit I mean I'm an actual engineer, and this is like the inside of a jet turbine,
Yeah.
and it is gorgeous.
You can see all the way in, and all the like little minor reflections on the fins on the compressor. Right.
Dang.
I love this shot here because like his skin tone is super underrated, but you get all of this detail in the darks all through the reflection on his helmet, which is
And look at
polarizing
this-
the light.
Look at this gray
You
on
can
his
see.
helmet. Like it gives it three dimensions. That's exactly right. It gives it 3 dimensions because when I look at say that gray object right there, or it's a black object, but it's 3-dimensional because it's got all this interesting shading from the light sources, and this just has so much detail in the gray, and it looks beautifully 3-dimensional. Like these images don't look flat at all.
I think this is my favorite shot of the bunch.
I mean, this is breathtaking. This is breathtaking.
So all of this detail was lost. It was either blown out or keep him, right? So he was either too dark or that was too bright, but now I can see everything all the way back, all the way into the house behind him. To grade this shot in standard dynamic range, because there's so much detail and so many different brightness spectrums, I had to basically power window out and like selectively grade different parts of it. And it took, in standard dynamic range, this took me probably around 30 minutes to do this shot. This took me 5 minutes in HDR.
Because you can
Because it just keeps all the detail.
Yep.
It just keeps it all and just display it all.
Like, okay, I don't have to like section this part out and dim it.
Yeah, you don't have to bring it up, you don't have to bring it down, you don't have to try and recover anything, it's just there.
Holy cow.
That's it. That's the room. Unless you want to go to Paris. You want to go to Paris?
Let's go to Paris. I feel like I got to travel across the world in like 10 minutes.
I need you in PQ100, PQ1000. That's the curve name, by the way. It's the perceptual quantizer curve, and then illuminated to 1000. Standardized in SMPTE 2084. And I need to change my output settings to match the television. I changed the way that I'm outputting to my display since I last set this up. So, this is Notre Dame. The Cathédrale de Notre Dame de Paris.
That's incredible. I mean, you can see inside of it
Yeah.
and outside of it,
Yep.
and the sun that's like right there.
Yep. This is a nice view over Paris as we pan across.
Goodness.
So you can see all this detail here in that train covering was normally just
It's
blown
like
out.
white,
Pure
white.
white. It's
White
pure
gray,
white.
yeah.
It's pure white. Right. This side of this building, pure white. These are pure white, right? But that's only because they've clipped on the camera, so I just bring them up to pure white for the standard. Right, the levels of gray there. I love this shot. Look at the detail all in the trees. I should regrade this one. I don't like the color of the sky. I should change it. It's a little too poppy.
I don't know. I think it works for that.
This one here at the Louvre, like you have all of this detail here in the darks and the shades, and then all of the brights all the way through, all the way into the detail in the sky.
I mean, the richness. It's when you get these images
That was
where
my favorite shot from Paris.
you get these images where you get these like everything looks normal, and by normal I mean like it's just a typical normal shade, a normal tone, but all of the details captured, all this color richness is captured, and then you get this like one object that's like a popping different color, but again all of its detail is captured. There's nothing, even the sides look interesting, and it makes the focal point of the shot even more interesting to the eyes. It makes it even more enhanced because everything else in this image isn't like blown out. It's just incredibly gorgeous.
You can see all the way under that arch there.
Yeah. Holy cow. Actually, yeah. You can see like way
Tons of
down into
detail.
there.
Yeah.
Oh man. Like you can look at different points and your eyes will adjust to the different color ranges of the part of the image you're looking at, or like the brightness ranges. And then you can like start to see into the image as if you were looking at it in real life.